Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I want to present a simple project that can be set up in a couple of minutes and for you to add it to your portfolio. This example is really good for people who are just starting out in their careers and maybe want to apply for a data analyst or a BI job or any job that involves working with Excel. The advantage of this project is that it showcases very important skills with Excel. We have like the formatting of the data, the presentation of the data, and of course the ability to create relevant visualizations for the data you work with. Okay, so in the credit score data sheet, we have the data relevant giving the inquiries of the credit score. Don't be afraid if you don't have this data, you can generate it on your own or grab some example from the internet. And I will present in a minute the meaning of the columns and how I calculated them. On the right side, we have the credit score ranges. I got them from YouTube. They're pretty standard from what I saw. And we have on the credit score value and the status regarding that credit score value. In these cells, I added the score to date, which is the current credit score from the last inquiry, and the status that is calculated using this score range table. And I added in a separate sheet for better visualization the FICO score line chart that presents us over time the values of the actual credit score from the inquiries and the change in the FICO score. In the data table, we have the date of the inquiry, which in this case is approximately once a month, and we have the actual credit score from the credit bureau inquiries. And in the following column, the column C, we have the score forecast, we'll talk about in a minute. The change in points, which is calculated as a difference between the score to date and the score from the previous month. The change in forecast, which is calculated as a difference between the forecast for the credit score in the following month and the score from the previous month inquiry. For instance, we see that this is the current month and we have only the forecasted value for the credit score, and the change for the forecasted value between the forecasted value and the data from the previous month may help us to evaluate the change a little better. We have in the column F the credit limit from the credit cards. You can customize it the way you see fit. The amount owed to date, I set it as 9% from the credit limit, but it can be customized. I set this limit because from what I saw, it's a great limit for you to improve your credit score. And but again, it can be changed easily. And also in the last column, we have the interrogations. I don't know how the credit score bureau takes into consideration the inquiries from the banks you have the credit cards from, but here I put also this parameter because in the future it may actually be useful, given the fact that the credit score is actually calculated also using this parameter. Okay, in the forecast column that I didn't explain earlier, we have the value, which is calculated using the linear forecast formula from sheets, and it's calculated using the historical data of the credit score, and as x-axis as an input we use the date of the inquiry. Of course, this prediction is not very complex, but if you want, you can actually customize the entire prediction from here using the analyst pack and using the actual algorithm of the way that the FICO score is calculated. This is the simple explanation of how the data is considered when calculating FICO score. But again, this is a simple example, and it had more of a visualization purpose. To be honest, I created this project so I can have a better way to visualize my credit score data, because I know in the US there are a couple of apps that help you to view the status of your credit score, but here where I'm from in Romania, the credit bureau doesn't offer this feature in a separate app or in the platform. Okay, let's resume to this part of the project. Also, I forgot to mention that for every cell where I calculated something, I used an if error. So in case, for instance, in these cells where there is no value to predict, or for instance in the change cells to differentiate, I wanted to display a blank cell. Okay, for the score to date value, the cell takes the value from the last score reported, and the score status is calculated using the VLOOKUP formula. It looks for an approximate match in this table using the credit score ranges defined right here. For instance, let's say we have here the value 572, and giving the ranges from here, it is between a poor credit score and a fair credit score. I included in this column of the table of score ranges the minimum value that qualifies for a poor credit score, fair credit score, and so on. So in this example, given that I use a approximate match, which is here specified with the value 1 or 2, I got the result that my credit score is between poor and the value of a poor credit score, mean poor credit score, which is 550, and 650, which is fair. So the data showed me that I have a poor credit score, unfortunately, but we'll work on that. Also, for this formatting, I used the conditional formatting from the format button from the menu. If you press here, you can actually define the rules in which you want to color your cell depending on the value. For instance, let's look at the rule here. For instance, you will have a good status is marked using the blue color. And if we look at the conditional formatting for the score to date, I actually used the ranges for the credit score, which is, like I said, if the credit score is above 650, it will be colored with the green color. And these rules are applied in order. That's the reason why, for instance, I didn't need to specify the range between 650 and 699, because at first it checks this value, which is greater or equal to 750. Also, then the next rule is applied, greater or equal to 700, and so on until it reaches the last value, and it occupies the whole range of values that can be seen in the score ranges table. Let's switch to the credit visualizations. They are really important, especially because these are the main feature of the tab. I use a very simple chart types. For the FICO score visualization, I used the line chart. I didn't change too much the palette because I like the really like this color. And in the settings for the credit score, I used row 1 as a header from the data table from here, and I used column A as a table, in which we know that the column A is the date of the inquiry, because if we don't, it will simply display the data like that, and it's not very intuitive what it means. Also, I added the labels right here, chart style and axis labels, which is very intuitive because here we know that this part of the chart is the date, and we have the score right here. An interesting part for this chart is that if you actually see, the vertical axis doesn't start from 0, and usually in the data analysis process it's better to start from your vertical axis from 0, but in this case, if I set the minimum value to 0, the visualization is not very easy to understand or to compare the values from each month. And given the fact that in most cases the credit score doesn't go below 500, I took that as a rule of thumb and considered it as the 0 grand for the chart. Then I added the change in the FICO score, which is the column D right here from data table, which shows us a bar chart with the values they change each month. Besides the settings from the FICO score chart is obviously that I changed the chart type, which is the count chart, and I treat the label as a text, because if I don't, I treat the x-axis as a date, the visualization looks a little wider and it's a little harder to read. And in this case, we don't care about the change over time more than the difference between the credit scores from each month. Also, I forgot to mention that for this table, I wanted to highlight the zone where the data is, and I use the alternating color. I can apply it to the credit score radius table. You should go to Format, Alternating Color, and you can choose a couple of styles, and the color palette I left the default style, which is gray, and it will look like that, and it's way easier to read. I hope this project will be useful to you in the job seeking process. You can change it and customize it. You can even suggest ideas in the comments. And also in the description, you will see this link where I share the template, and you can customize it as you wish. Okay, thank you for watching and see you next time.